My daughter denied my right to be at her wedding until I dropped a bomb on her. It was a secret I've been holding her entire life. When I, female 47, confirmed that I was pregnant, I was over the moon, even though we just separated with Celine's dad, who's 29-year-old female. I caught him cheating on me, and it was the worst thing a wife could possibly see. I was working as a midwife at a hospital in town, and so I would sometimes stay overnight at the hospital for my shift. I was the breadwinner of the house, since he did not even have a job. So I, one day, came home and found another woman in our room. I instantly knew that something was going on between them, the way she looked at me shamelessness. I had to choose my mental health over my worthless husband and, honestly, I was torn apart by the separation. But after I realized that I was pregnant with my little Celine, I had to pick myself up for the sake of my baby. 2 months later, a due couple, a female 42 and her husband, came in. They were about to have their first baby, as I saw the tense faces. I rushed towards them and loudly asked for help from the other nurses. An hour later, I came out of the room to give the news to the husband that he was going to be a father to a baby boy. I was filled with joy to see how happy he was to be a dad. But there was a little problem. The baby had a few health problems that caused him his eye. And seeing the devastation in his parents' eyes, I could not keep myself from shedding a tear. I wondered how I would feel if my baby would go through the same thing. How would the little fella see the world with just one eye? When I first found out about my pregnancy, I was scared. How was I going to tell my baby that her father strained? I decided not to keep it from her father, but that would not mean that we had to keep in touch all the time. I was doing quite well with the pregnancy, no complications at all, and 9 months later, my baby was born. I gave her a name myself, and her father was angry that I gave her a name. Who else was supposed to do it? I took care of myself for 9 months, and I went through everything without him, and he wanted to name her? I moved back to my mother's house to get help with the baby. My family helped so much, as usual, and they cared so much for little Celine. After Celine started middle school, kids at school started calling her names. They called her a freak, because her mother only had one eye. They would call her Captain Ron's child. It did not only hurt her, but it also hurt me. Why such small kids could be so discourteous. My poor daughter had to endure a lot in school. She started hating it if I took her until the school premises. She wanted to get as far possibly away as she could, because the world made fun of me through her. She started mistreating me and telling me to stay away from her. I could not believe my own daughter did not want to see my face at all. She even started calling me an ugly freak. It broke me into minced meat pieces. What had the world turned her into? I was not the monster for having one eye, but she was the monster for seeing her own one-eyed mother as a monster. She finally finished middle school, and she was off to high school. She did not want me to be near her and ruin her teenage life, so she applied for a school that was out of town. She hardly called me or came home because she hated me. She was ashamed of her own mother. I just wanted to be there for my baby girl like how I was there for her when she took her first steps on her first birthday. After elementary school, I didn't know her anymore. She graduated high school and she went to college. I was feeling proud of her in a corner far from her space, just to avoid insults from her. One day, I woke up missing her so much, I decided to pay her a visit at college. I'd never been so hurt. She saw me from a distance and she hurriedly pulled me out of everyone's sight. Angrily, asked me what I was thinking to go and visit her. She looked at me with so much hatred in her eyes, and as her friends approached us, I pulled out my arm to introduce myself. "Hi, I'm Mia, Celine's..." I couldn't finish my statement because she ended it in herself in a hurry. "Maid, she was hired by my mom to help out the house. She's just a maid." She nervously smiled at her friends as she pulled me away. "Listen here, Mia, you're not going to spoil my college days with your one eye. I worked hard to be where I am today, so I want you to take your eye patch and leave right now and never show your face here again." I slowly turned away as tears filled my eyes and rolled down my cheeks. I could not understand where I'd possibly gone wrong for my daughter to grow up into such a sour and inconsiderate person. As I reached home, I went straight to my room and cried myself to sleep. Celine then graduated from college, and she did not even bother to invite me, because she was not only ashamed of me, but she also hated me for having just one eye. And a few years later, she came home screaming in joy, announcing that she was getting married. I was overjoyed. We all started celebrating and congratulating her as I walked towards her to give her a hug. She pushed me away, and sudden silence collapsed over the room. What the heck do you think you're doing, Captain Ron? I told you stay far away from me. You might just give me your one-eye disease that I don't want a contract from you at all. I wish you were not my mother. That eye that you don't have and made my years in elementary school a living hell. And I'll never forgive you for that," she said to me without even considering my feelings. I said, "Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that in school, but that should not give you a reason to despise your own mother. You're still my little girl, and I can't let anger and hatred swallow you whole like that." I replied to her, but my words seemed to have fallen on a hard shell and bounced back to my face. Everyone in the house tried to talk her out of it, but it only got her even angrier. She decided right then and there that I should not take part in the wedding preparations, and I should not even think about roaming around the house with guests in it, as that would apparently chase our guest away, and she would not want that. Depression caught up to me as I sat in my bed all day, every day, to avoid taking part in her wedding preparation. I was the mother of the soon-to-be bride, but I was denied all my rights as her mother. That would make any mother devastated. That was a bomb she threw at me, to say that I should stay out of sight to avoid scaring away the guest. I did not expect my physical appearance to be a burden. I could not even attend my daughter's wedding because of this. The sadness I felt was unimaginable, but what could I do? All I had to do was endure it all until she realized that she had been very unfair with me. I could no longer stay in my room like a caged dog. It was my daughter's wedding. I had to help out with at least something. It was because of her that my self-esteem dropped. I also started seeing myself as an animal, but animals also have emotions, and the only emotion I had was sadness all the time. I walked out of my room, went to the kitchen to help with the cooking. The groom's family was coming to meet our family, so a lot of cooking was going on. And there was so many people around the house with flowers and decorations. I was so happy to see how beautiful the house looked because my little girl grew up so fast and she was already getting married. As I was touring around the house, someone pulled my shoulder from behind, almost dislocating it. What did I tell you?" A whisper close to my ear, and I instantly knew who it was. Celine had spotted me, and she certainly did not want to see me there. "Celine, please, don't do this, my dear. I promise to stay away from your guest. Please, just let me help out," I said to her as a tear rolled down my cheek. "No, Mia, you know how much this means to me. I'm not going to let you ruin it for me. What will my in-laws say when they see how you look? My husband might as well just run away out of fear. So, if you really love me like you say you do, then just stay away. I won't be this nice next time I see you around my space." She responded to me as she turned to go receive her guest with a warm smile. Everyone settled down as the groom and his family walked in, and there stood a handsome young man and his parents right next to him. They were fed sweets as they stood in the living room, and I watched from behind the walls to avoid the drama. "Where's your mother?" Rachna asked. Celine nervously chuckled. She's unfortunately out of town with work, and she'll only be joining us the day of the wedding. You can take a seat here while I go get you some more sweets. and we can discuss the date and celebrate." Celine said Rachna with enthusiasm to make her forget about me. Everyone was having so much fun while I was watching from behind the walls like a sick dog. But the love I had for my dear daughter was humongous, that I always put everything she said to my face behind me to avoid estrangement. The whole family had dinner together, and one of my nieces brought me food in my room. I did not hesitate to accept the food as I was starving. After, Celine walked her guest outside and they stood there for a while before the groom's family said goodbye and left. I finally came from behind the walls after the guest left. Celine walked up to me with a bitter smile. I'm surprised you understood what I said earlier. I'm so grateful you did not show your hideous face to my guest. You behaved well today, but don't get ahead of yourself." That's what she said to me. I could not believe my own daughter was treating me like an animal. Where did I go wrong as a mother? My own daughter disowned me because of my eye. Even though my feelings were always hurt by her, I never wished her bad because she's my flesh and blood, and I would keep loving her no matter what she did to me. That's how much she means to me, so I went to my room as I wiped my tears because it was the only place in the house where I felt at peace, and I knew I was free to be myself in my room. The day of the wedding finally arrived, and everyone was dressed beautifully, and they just all looked so happy. Celine came to my room and told me, "Hey, you're not welcome to come with everyone to the temple. You'll stay at home so you don't scare the priest and the people away." She was releasing so much anger energy, even though she looked so beautiful in her saree. She looked like a princess. She did not even buy one for her mother, even if I was not going to attend the wedding. It would have felt really nice if she had at least given me something to make me feel worthy. But she did not bother at all. Everyone then left the temple for the wedding vows and the rest of the wedding rituals. After everyone left, I walked out of my room to help around the house with cooking, preparations for the celebration after. Celine and her groom will come back from the temple. I finally felt like a part of the family, because I knew she was not around, so I could even take over the decorations and some recipes. I made sure to prepare some of the dishes she liked when she was a child. I felt so good to know that I am a part of my daughter's big day, although she did not know, and she would not have allowed me to take part. All the food was prepared and was so delicious. Everything looked so beautiful. I received a call just after I left the bathroom. "Today is your daughter's wedding day, and you won't even turn up? What kind of mother are you? Do for your daughter what you would do for any other child. So I want you to be on your way here right away. Don't make me call you twice." A voice from the other end of the line to me and hung up. It was Rachna. To hear such words from another mother gave me the courage and strength to dress up and go to that temple, to witness my daughter become someone's wife. I dressed up in my prettiest little dress and I left home. No one knew where I was going, but if they knew, one of them would probably call Celine to let her know that I'm on my way. When I arrived, they just began because the priest's car broke down and he was stranded on the streets. The groom later made a few calls to the priest of the temple. I'd not really missed a lot. I walked up the stairs, took off my shoes as I approached the seated crowd. Rachna smiled at me and gave me so much confidence to walk up to them. I reached a spot to sit, and just when I was about to sit, Celine spotted me and walked up to me with such anger. I could say that I saw a volcano erupt. She was furious that her face changed the color red. I was frightened for a second, and I was regretting going to that temple. I felt like I poked the beehive, and now the bees were angry and coming for me. But I toughened up and decided that if she was going to say something to me again that would be so hurtful, I was going to give her a piece of my mind. I was not scared of her, I just loved her too much, and I just let her insult me like she wanted to, because I was trying to make her forget all about the torture she went through in elementary school. What have I told you? I said stay at home and you don't listen, do you? If my husband runs from here, it's going to be your fault and I will never forgive you. Please, just respect me, stay away. Stay away. Just a few hours and I'll go live at my in-laws' house, then I won't have to put up with your worthless face. She said to me with an exasperated tone. This is enough. I can't pretend anymore. She's going too far, a voice said from behind Celine. Rachna seemed to have gotten enough of Celine's behavior. She knew that Celine was lying when she said I was out of town. Because we've been in touch ever since the day I helped her in the hospital, which was 29 years before. She continued to say, will you tell her or should I do it? At that point, Celine was so confused. She had no idea why her soon-to-be mother-in-law just raised her voice at her. Okay, I'll tell her myself, I said to Rachna before I turned to Celine. My dear, I guess you never really wondered what happened for me to end up with one eye. 29 years ago, a young couple came to the hospital I was working in when I was pregnant. They were about to have a baby and they were so happy. When the baby was born, he had a few health problems that cost him an eye, and the couple drowned in sorrow and distress. I could not watch a little boy end up with only one eye, so I decided to donate one of mine to help the little boy. His parents were so thankful to me that they did not know how to repay me, so they made me a promise that if I was to give birth to a baby girl, we would marry our kids off, and months later, I had you. And that couple is about to fulfill their promise to me, Celine. Tears rolled down my cheek as I told Celine the story of how I ended up with just one eye. Everyone became so emotional and they all started bawling. Celine was in so much shock she refused to believe it. It's true, my dear. Your mother is the most generous person in the world. I just cannot watch her be discriminated for doing a good deed. I can never be grateful enough for what she did for my son, but I can give the little I can, which is to give her daughter a good and loving husband, Rachna said to Celine. She bursted into tears and started apologizing to me nonstop. She was ashamed of herself. She wished she knew about it earlier to defend me when everyone made fun of me, but she was so self-centered she did not bother to ask about it. I made peace with her immediately, because I did not want her to ruin her makeup. I wanted my little princess to look pretty for her wedding day. I've never been happier to see my daughter look at me with so much love and guilt. She hugged me for minutes and kept crying. I tried calming her down, but the guilt in her was too much to be left unattended. After an hour, she finally managed to calm down and the wedding continued. It was not only the happiest day of her life, but it was the happiest day of mine as well. It was the day we reconciled with my daughter, after 23 years of estrangement from her side. Well, guys, to be honest, I did not see that ending coming. I guess they say, an eye for an eye. Let me know what you thought about that story. Drop your thoughts down below in comments, or even if you've been in a similar situation like that. The next story we're going to look at is an Am I the A-hole story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex that I'm pregnant? I, female 28, was with my ex-husband for about 6 years. During this time, we were trying for a baby but had no success. About 4 years into our marriage had a rough patch. My ex had stressed about work and slept with his co-worker to relieve it. He confessed to me rather quickly, and a week later, they sat me down and told me they were expecting a child. I was an idiot back then, and so I felt like I should forgive him because I truly believed he loved me, and I thought I had no one. It wasn't. My ex's family treated me like their own, but my ex's supposed daughter was the apple of their eye. As a result of that, my ex's coworker was a frequent presence in our life. They felt like they had to include the mom of the grandchild for everything, and she made her way in every family picture and memory. It didn't help that I suspected the coworker had feelings for my ex and flirted with him when she could. People thought she was my ex's wife constantly, and I finally had enough when during the baby girl's first birthday party, when I was told to take a picture of my ex, his mistress, his daughter, and his parents, and it did not include me, it hit me that I was now treated as the other woman, and I realized I deserved more than this bullcrap. I filed for divorce a few months later and left. It was the hardest time of my life, but I ended up getting a promotion at work and met this sweet, wonderful guy. Fast forward now, and me and my boyfriend are madly in love. I gave birth to an adorable baby girl that I considered the miracle baby. I got pregnant with my boyfriend like 3 months after dating him, and I thought it was strange that this could happen since my previous failed attempts with my ex, and had thought that I was the infertile one. Well, it crossed my mind then that maybe he was the infertile one, and he only believed the mistress was pregnant with his child because they were having an affair. I didn't say anything, though, because it's just not my place anymore. However, my boyfriend was so happy about my daughter's birth and posted it on Facebook and tagged me in the post. I was still friends with my ex-sister-in-law on Facebook, and she saw the post. She called me up and said that she was hurt that I did not let her know that I could actually get pregnant, and the lack of child during my first marriage could be my ex's fault. Well, he took a paternity test. The poor baby girl was never my ex's. The coworker apparently was dating this terrible guy during the time she slept with my ex. She didn't know who the child's father was, so she just strung my ex along because she had feelings for him and thought he'd be the best father for the child. Now, my ex blames me for not telling him that I was pregnant right away, and having him father this girl. He's doing pretty bad now, and I can't help but feel guilty like I should have told him. What's up guys, Mr. Reddito here. So there's an update for this story, we'll hop in it now. I hope you guys are having a great day, here's your update. First things first, I'm getting married. My boyfriend proposed a few weeks ago, and we'll be tying the knot once this whole mess of a year is over. I know a lot of people here said that my ex's family's toxic, and I should not keep in touch with them. But I did contact them to tell them about my engagement. Eek. It went, well. My ex-mother-in-law cried and told me she was happy for me, and apologized for everything. She felt bad about what happened and promised to keep in touch with me. My ex-sister-in-law also apologized for blowing up at me, but she was just very overwhelmed by everything going on in her family's life. I can sympathize and told her that it's all forgiven. This family is still super important to me, but this felt more like closure, and I'm at peace with my feelings now. It's a chapter in my life that was bittersweet with a lot of great memories, but is now closed. I'll always look back fondly, but now it's time for me to move on. The last I've heard, my ex's quote-unquote child is living with her mother, and her biological father is now more involved in her life. My ex stopped visiting altogether and doesn't seem to be in great shape, but I haven't inquired because I don't feel like it's my place anymore. I wish him well, and hopefully he's able to move on from this. Well, one of the comments says this: I wonder if he regrets blowing up his beautiful marriage for an affair. I'm so sorry you had so much pain, but honestly, the trash took itself out. You now have a beautiful family, and it's all yours. So guys, let me know if you agree with that comment, or if you want to give some advice to OP. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. If you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button, and Mr. Reddito will catch you in the next one.